Good afternoon, everyone. I am, as Mona said, the benefit specialist with Onslow County Human Resources, and I am the person at the county that processes our E-Verify. So I'm here today to talk to you about the new legislation and what it means for us, and how to use the E-Verify system to get started with it, and how to kind of go through it and see how it works. So the first thing we're going to look at is the new legislation, which is SL 2001-263H36. This was enacted by the North Carolina General Assembly on June 18th of 2011, and it does three things. It requires that certain employers must begin using the federal E-Verify program to verify the work authorization of their new hires. It also establishes a complaint system for potential violators, and it sets penalties for non-compliance with this legislation. So who is affected? All public and private sector employees with 25 or more employees are subject to this legislation. When am I required to participate? For those of us who work for counties and municipalities, we are required to participate starting October 1st of 2011. So we have 10 days if we haven't done it already. For those private employers who have 500 or more employees, you have to begin using E-Verify on October 1st, 2012. For those private employers with less than 500 but more than 100, you have to begin using it on January 1st of 2013. And then the last tier of employers, those private employers with 25 to 99 employees, have to begin using E-Verify on July 1st of 2013. So what is E-Verify? E-Verify is a partnership between the Department of Homeland Security and the Social Security Administration that allows participants to electronically verify the employment authorization of new hires. And this is only for new employees. You may not use this to reauthorize your current employees unless you receive a federal contract. So before we go into depth about what E-Verify is and how we access it, let's talk about the complaint system with this legislation. If any individual believes that an employer is not complying with the verification requirements set forth in this legislation, then they can file a complaint with the North Carolina Commissioner of Labor. And all of these complaints will be investigated by the Commissioner of Labor. If the Commissioner finds that this complaint is not false and frivolous, then a hearing will be held to determine if the employer has complied with the law's verification requirements and impose penalties if appropriate. Now on the slide here it does say private employers. There has been some controversy about whether or not this complaint system affects public sector employees. I actually had the opportunity to speak with the Commissioner of Labor, Sherry Berry, last night and ask her this question because I didn't see it in the legislation itself, though I had seen it in an article that I read, and she said this is something that's still being worked out. So right now I would say for the public sector employees to go ahead and proceed as if this does affect you, even though there has been some controversy surrounding that. If it is found that the complaint is not false and frivolous and a penalty is imposed, then the employer has 15 days to file an appeal with the Commissioner. So what are the penalties? For a first-time violation, the employer has to sign a sworn affidavit that the verification through E-Verify has been requested within 3 business days of the finding of non-compliance. If they do not file that affidavit, it will result in a fine of $10,000. For a second violation, employers face a flat fine of $1,000, plus they are still subject to the sworn affidavit. For subsequent violations, the employers face a $2,000 fine for each employee that was found not to have been verified through the E-Verify system, in addition to the sworn affidavit. So how do we get started with E-Verify? The first step is to go online to the Department of Homeland Security's E-Verify website. They have an enrollment website, and I've included it in your slideshow, which is the presentation that was handed out to all of you. Once you start with the enrollment process, there's a memorandum of understanding that will have to be electronically signed by someone within your organization. For our organization, we did not have the capability to electronically sign it, so we called E-Verify to find out what we needed to do in that instance, and we were told that once we submitted the application and hit the submit button and it went to E-Verify, then that was considered to be our signature. So once you complete that application and put in all of your organization's information and hit that submit button, that is considered your electronic signature. And this memorandum of understanding sets up a contracted obligation for you to use E-Verify. You now have to use it for every new hire that comes through your door. And it also details your responsibilities when using E-Verify. After you've done the memorandum of understanding, it's important to decide who in your organization is going to be responsible for submitting verifications through E-Verify. Each agency must set a program administrator. This person will create and maintain the general users. The general user, of course, is the person who will be going in and doing the day-to-day verifications through E-Verify. They'll create the cases and view the reports. The program administrator also acts as a general user. The general users are optional. You only have to have the program administrator, and you can have as many general users as is necessary for your organization to do verifications through E-Verify.
Crystal,
Yes, ma'am?
explain why I would need a general user. Like different locations of businesses? Or
You could use it for different locations. If you have an employer, well, with Onslow County, with our E-Verify, we have one central human resources department that does the E-Verify. We do have a program administrator and a general user so that we have someone as a backup in case that the general user is not in. If you are a company with multiple locations, though, they also have what is called a corporate administrator. This is kind of the same as the program administrator, except they cannot create the cases and view reports. So this would be for like a parent company. The parent company could have a corporate user, and then each of the smaller companies could have a general user. So the corporate administrator would only create the accounts and reset passwords and do the maintenance on the users themselves. They would not create the reports and create the cases through E-Verify. Any other questions before we move forward? Once you've decided who is going to be your program administrator and or your general user, these people have to go through the E-Verify system and take an online tutorial, which includes some little pop quizzes at the end of each section. This tutorial leads you through what is the premise behind E-Verify, how it works, how it was set up, how it came about. It also lets you know how you will use the system, what your responsibilities are, and what the different case results mean once you submit your cases. So each program administrator and general user has to successfully complete this tutorial before they can begin using the system. And then once you have signed up for E-Verify, you have to notify your potential job applicants that you participate in the E-Verify program. Mr. Cleveland spoke about this employer participates in E-Verify posting. That has to be posted where your job applicants can see it.